Hello there everyone, nubkeks here, welcome back to Nub Raids, and in today's video we're going on to tier list maker and I am going to rank every single piece of content in this game. We are going to rank it in this tier list and I will basically tell you what I think of each of these different pieces of content. This video is copying Chosen. Chosen did this exact sort of video. Now he had a slightly different tier list setup here, but he basically did this exact video a couple of days ago, so we are copying him. Yeah, we're copying him. I thought it was a great idea, really fun. Couldn't find his tier list, so I made my own one, which is slightly different. But we are gonna go through it and work it out. I'm sure I already know I'm going to offend a lot of people. Tier list videos always get some of the most outraged comments. It's a true social media, a true paragon of social media content. Tier list videos, but they're fun to make. Not always so fun to read, but anyway, let's go into it. The way I rank it, I start everything in B. That's how I like to rank things. Average, good stuff, but also bad stuff about it. Keep it in B. And then if it does something well, I'll knock it up to A or even S. If it does something poorly, knock it down to C or even D tier. Well, probably, we'll see. You know, I'm obviously a content creator for the game. I really like the game in general, but I will try to also mark things, of course, as fairly as possible. Let's go in first. So the Guardian Ring. Okay, I actually did up a little extra thing here to break down the portal and the Guardian Ring a little bit better so we can give a fair mark, because there's actually quite a bit of stuff in there. The Guardian Ring, the Sparring Pit. This is where you can level up champions. Let me actually move this slightly out of the way. Okay, leveling up your champions over time in the Sparring Pit. For me, that's a B. That's a B tier content. There's nothing particularly bad about the Sparring Pit. Nothing particularly good. It's fine that it's there. It's like a tiny sort of part of the game. It's okay. Next up, we've got Faction Guardians. For me, I actually going to give Faction Guardians an S ranking. I love the Faction Guardians in the Guardian Ring. I think they're super good. It gives you a lot of excitement when you pull duplicate champions. It's a really fun sort of pace of progress amongst your epics, your legendaries, your rares, tangible benefits for it. You start getting more benefits the more champions you have in that faction as well. So I think it works really well. I'm a big fan of the Faction Guardians as a way of dealing with duplicates. For empowerment, I'm actually going to give this an A. I like this more than most people do, I think. I think empowerment is okay. I'm being generous to give it an A, to be fair. I'm definitely being generous. The reason I like empowerment, I don't have, by the way, I have no empowered champions. I have none. But I think it's sort of a fun thing once your Faction Guardians are filled up that you can then start to empower champions and do some really cool stuff with them much later on into the game. Now, I can understand that people that are competing at the top end of Arena, like if you're pushing for Platinum Arena or whatever, that empowerment might really bother you because it's very pay to win, but it doesn't bother me because pushing for Platinum Arena is super pay to win anyway, and you're kind of a fool if you're going for it, in my opinion. So there you go. Harsh, but that's what I think. Like I said, we're going to offend some people here today. Token Trader then, this is where you can unbind your champions for coins and buy stuff in the shop, and this to me is D. This is a D tier piece of content right here. Definitely a D tier piece of content. Why is it D tier? The champions there are just so expensive. Really, the way you go is you do Faction Guardians first, then you're going to empower your good champions. Then any bad champions that you're not really using, you're going to unbind them and eventually get something. It's good that it's there so that duplicate champions are never completely wasted, right? Because you can unbind them. But it's really not doing anything special. It needs a lot more going into it, and it's just so poor compared to Empowerment or Faction Guardians. So there we go. So you have a B, an S, an A, and a D. So we're ranking all over the place here. I think probably the most fair place to put this then is probably in the B tier. Probably B tier is fair. I don't know. Actually, I think maybe in the A tier is fair. Let's say the S, somewhere between A and B. Kind of awkward to rank it. I'll say in the A tier. I think for the purpose that it achieves, it actually, yeah, I'll give it an A overall. Duplicate champions in this game before the Guardian Ring existed, duplicate champions felt really bad. It was a complete waste. It just sucked for most of the time. Now, duplicate champions actually can feel pretty good to get. You can actually be quite happy sometimes when you get a duplicate. Because it's going to help you build up your Faction Guardian tiers. It's going to help you eventually empower stuff. I think it's cool. Lots of room for improvement with the Guardian Ring. I'm being somewhat generous putting it at an A, but it does a good thing for the game. Makes dupes worth it, so that's good. Next up, we've got the Forge. This is, without a doubt for me, S tier content. Love the Forge. Super cool. Get tons of really powerful artifacts. Kind of customize how you're going to build them, where you're going to spend your resources in the Forge. I like the gameplay of it. And the rewards are fantastic. So I really like the Forge. One of my favorite parts of the game. Next up, the gem mine. Gem mine is definitely for me a B tier thing. You know, you have to spend a lot of your early gems to unlock the gem mine, but then it's sort of slowly paying itself back off. I think it's not particularly exciting, but it's fine, and it's sort of, you know, a little thing you think about at the start and collect your gems every day. I'd just describe it as inoffensive, basically. Very average. It's fine. Doesn't do anything particularly good or bad. B tier. Next up, we've got the market. The market I'm putting in the D tier. The market sucks. The market's really bad. You know, you buy green shards, mystery shards off the market. You buy some stuff, but like all of the items in the market are pretty much a trap most of the time. You occasionally, especially early in the game, you might very, very rarely get one good piece or so, but it's pretty much just a trap. It's annoying, especially with the Forge Pass. When the Forge Pass has some quests and stuff in there, if you buy the Forge Pass, we have to buy things off the market, and that really pissed me off because it's a complete waste of silver. It's like waste a bunch of silver to get these points. Really annoying. The market needs a lot of improvement. I don't mind the market, even though I'm putting it in D tier. I actually like the concept of the market as a piece of content, but it's just completely out of date and needs a big revamp. Next up, campaign. Campaign goes into the C tier for me. It's just a boring grind. Campaign is just a boring grind. It's meaningless and menial. So yeah, it's pretty terrible. The reason that would put it straight into D tier for me. It's just a grind you have to do that has really no interaction. The reason I'm putting it back up into C tier, and it needs lots of clicking, click, click, click. C tier, it goes up a point because Nightmare Campaign was actually pretty cool. You know, the first time progressing through Nightmare Campaign, that was actually kind of a fun challenge, and setting up your duo team to do it. That was kind of fun. That was cool. I enjoyed that. It was just a once-off thing, though, that you do reasonably early on in your career, and then you're done. So campaign, pretty bad. Dungeons, there's a lot of dungeons here. I could probably split this one up. I'm going to put dungeons in the A tier. I actually think dungeons, I've seen polls before. I don't like dungeons as much as most people do, but I've seen polls before. What is your favorite type of content in the game? And dungeons always do super well. I don't like them as much as that. That being said, I do think that all the different types of dungeons were really fun to build teams for. Different styles of teams, different styles of champion. They're not too crazy hard. And super raids definitely made the dungeons a lot more enjoyable for me. So yeah, I think dungeons are fine. Like, they're cool. Different bosses are fun to fight. It's a great puzzle going through it the first time and dealing with the different affinities. Of course, once you've beaten the dungeons, they're kind of beaten. But it's nice to go back and tweak your speed teams. I think it's a solid piece of content. Next up, Faction Wars for me is S tier content. I really, really enjoyed Faction Wars. Really enjoyed it. Going through every single faction, using so many champions that you otherwise would not use, and building those teams up. And then even when you've beaten Faction Wars, speeding up your teams, making them more efficient and better as you pull better champions. That's also quite enjoyable to me. I quite like that. And one of the really nice things about Faction Wars is it's very quick to farm it out. They added super raids recently, so every day the time investment into Faction Wars is very low for really top quality rewards. Like getting those glyphs, getting those materials for the Forge, it's really good. And it doesn't take much time at all. So I actually really, really like Faction Wars. I'd actually love that they did a lot more faction-based content in the game. More faction-based content is good content for me. So I really liked it. Doom Tower. Now, Doom Tower, I think, has more flaws, more problems. So I'm going to put it in the S tier as well. I think, on the whole, that Doom Tower is really fun. It's really cool. You know, it takes a good few rotations to get through it, and you climb a bit higher every rotation. You can sort of see your progress, work on your teams, and I enjoy that. I enjoy slowly earning the champions. I definitely think one criticism for sure is that some of those champions in there aren't very good. And if you start behind the curve, it takes a long time to catch back up. So like, I was only new to the game when Doom Tower released initially. So I'm way behind the curve in terms of Doom Tower hard champions. I was able to stay pretty close up on normal champions. That wasn't too difficult. But actually getting through Doom Tower hard and being able to do those secret rooms, way behind the curve there. And there's no way to catch up. So yeah, I'd like to see some sort of catch up. In terms of the bosses, I've done a tier list video before with YST. In terms of the Doom Tower bosses, check out that collab. If you haven't seen it before, it's a ton of fun. Overall, I really enjoy the Doom Tower bosses. I think they're a big challenge, some of them. A couple of them are too easy. A couple of them are too hard, but generally speaking, it's a solid challenge, and it feels good to progress in it. I like the 3 rotations. I think it's fun. So I'm a big fan of the Doom Tower. I'd actually love to see more Doom Tower content in the future too. Classic Arena up next. This might hurt some people's feelings as well. C tier for Classic Arena. The state of Classic Arena varies a lot. It varies a lot. Sometimes it's too easy. Sometimes it's too hard. Depends how they sort the matchmaking and points and stuff. The problem I have with Classic Arena is there's little motivation to push higher in Classic Arena. I just farm the top of Gold 5. Like, farming the top of Gold 5 right now is super easy. It's just a chore. It requires almost no thought. It's really easy. Just farm it up, get your medals, get your forge materials, and move on. Pushing into Platinum is way too much of a whale fest and way too much of a time investment at a particular, like, I don't know, it's in the middle of the morning or something in Europe. I don't know. It's like, why would I bother doing that? So that for me is really off-putting. I think it's too much of a whale fest at the top. And I think there's great potential for Arena moving forwards, but I think it needs a lot of work here right now. Actually, I'd almost put it in the D tier, but I won't. Now for Tag Team Arena, I'm actually going to offend people again. I'm going to put Tag Team Arena in B. I'm going to put it in B. What I like about Tag Arena is that I feel like it's much more competitive than Classic. I have a much better time. Again, I'm in gold in both of them, like gold 5 tag, gold 2 in tag. There's no platinum in tag, just gold up to gold 4. I'm in gold 2 of tag right now, and you find some really good fights. Now, what I enjoy most about it is that because you need 12 different champions, it opens up more strategies, and you can figure out the different types of teams and mix and match your strategy a bit more. I think it works a bit. I think it's kind of bad when you start out, like, trying to get through bronze and silver and initially build your teams is really tough because people have such crazy champions. Now, where I am at now, where I'm in gold and have been for a good while, now I do have a selection of good teams. The selection of champions I have is still not on par with most of the people I fight against. I'm still missing a ton of the top tier arena champions, but I can build specific teams to target their types of specific teams. So I think when you've got a good selection of champions, it actually becomes decently fun. It's a fun little puzzle. So I actually quite like that. What I don't like about it, I think it's very punishing. And in terms of ranking up, like promoting and demoting through the tag arena tiers, it's very punishing. I think you need so many battles. It's very time consuming as well. So those are my 2 biggest issues with it. 3 biggest issues. Number 1, barrier of entry is really high. Number 2, time consuming. And number 3, really hard to rank up and really hard to stay ranked up as well. So tag. But I actually much prefer it to Classic. I think it's much more fun, which is very unpopular. People hate it, but I actually think it's okay. All right, next up, we got the Summoning Portal. So let's jump in here because I feel like these events all for me have very different rankings. They're very different sorts of content. Okay, 2x events, S tier for me, S tier. I think 2x is really fun. I think the idea that you save up your shards for 6 weeks, basically between each type of 2x event, but there's a 2x event every 2 weeks with a different shard type. You go in and you go, okay, this is my 2x voids, been saving them up. I get to pull them all at once and get some cool champions out of it. Okay, next week or next 2 weeks, it's 2x ancients. I've been saving up, get a bunch of cool champions. Instead of, I think it's one of the raid's biggest successes. Honestly, I think it's one of raid's biggest successes is by postponing that enjoyment, by saving stuff up. You've got like this, it's not exciting while you're saving, but then you've got this big peak of enjoyment that makes it super cool. Whereas I think if you're pulling your shards every time you got a shard, it would not be anywhere near as interesting. I actually think it'd be much less interesting and make it far more bland. I really like it. I think 2x events are super, super good. 10x events, D tier. I clicked S by accident. No. D tier. In fact, pretty much the worst ranked thing here. 10x events. In fact, I'm going to go even further. I'm going to give 10x events an F. An F for 10x events, where not only are they really bad and they need a ton of improvement, but they're okay for the game. The market, really, really completely dated, but the market should be in the game. It needs to be improved a lot, but it should be in the game. 10x events are complete garbage. 10x events really is just a way, in my opinion, to trick you out of your shards. That's basically what it is. The chances are so poor. They are so bad. It is a complete waste. It's a complete gamble. I think they're terrible. I think the game would be better off without 10 times events, to be completely honest. I think they suck. Guaranteed events are up next. I'm giving these an S as well. This is my joint favorite type of shard pulling event. Really, really like guaranteed champion events. Why do I like guaranteed champion events? You can see exactly how many shards you need, and you know exactly what you're going to get out of it. There's no gambling. There's no really bad chances. It's just, this is how many shards you need. This is what you get. And the other thing I really like about it is that you can do it without buying any shards, right? If you are patient and you save your shards, I do think 2x events are the way to go when you're a newer player because you need all the epics. But once you're like a year plus into the game, or if you're a spender, you'll hit it sooner, of course. But once you've got a really good selection of champions, you can then start saving up for guaranteed. The guaranteed legendaries are also generally pretty solid. They're actually generally quite good. Or at the very least, they might not be super good, but they'll have a really interesting and unique niche, like Gamoran. I didn't get Gamoran, but I think he's a fun champion. He's probably one of the worst ones they ever did guaranteed, but at least he's unique. He does stuff a little bit different. So I generally quite like the guaranteed stuff. It's good. It's really good. Double events, I'm going to give an A. This one is tricky to rank. So with double events, I think these are like where get one legendary, get a second one free. So double events, I think, are super fun. They're super exciting, and it's a great rush when you do get that second legendary. The reason I don't like the double event, or rank it down a bit here, is that, again, I think if you are not tuned in to how the game actually works and the mercy system, I see a lot of people going wrong here. I think it certainly exploits newer players for sure that don't really think about what they're doing. But yeah, if you do not track your mercy system, because there's no mercy system tracker in game, right? They don't let you track your mercy system in game. You have to manually track it and keep a record yourself. If you track your mercy system, this is a great event. But if you don't, it's sort of a way to trick people out of shards, chasing that double gold, which I think is bad. So that's why I find this difficult to rate. It's like, how much of this is on the consumer? How much is on the consumer? How much is on Plarium? I think if you're an informed consumer, then I think it's actually really fun. So I give it an A. For fusion events, I'm going to give them an A as well. I really enjoy the fusions every month. I think it basically gives you a steady pace of stuff to work towards in the game, and an interesting champion every month. The fusion champions, much like the guaranteed champions, are nearly always actually quite interesting. They're quite worth picking up, and they do some cool stuff. They do fun stuff. So I actually really like the fusions. I think they do them well. And permanent fusions, I'm going to give... oh man, do I give permanent fusions? This is like Razin and Broadmon stuff. Do I give that a C or a D? Oh, a C or a D? I'm going to give him a D. I'm going to give it a D for the permanent fusions. I'm glad that permanent fusions are in the game, but it's so completely radically out of date. Like the Razin fusion, for example, is a great idea, but they've added more rare champions into the game and more summoning events. So it's actually quite hard to get the rares to even fuse Razin in the first place. It's much harder now than it was in the past, which is absurd. Then Broadmaw and Relic Keeper and all of those are pretty terrible. Broadmaw's decent, so that's good. But yeah, like I'm glad the permanent fusions are in the game, but they should add more, and they should update them and make them better, integrate them into events and stuff. Like imagine as a newer player, if there were events popping up every couple of weeks that would give you access to one of the rares for the Razin fusion. Like how much better would that be? Really needs to be improved. So overall, it's definitely a bit of a mixed bag. I think overall the fair place to put the portal is in A. There's several things about the portal that are certainly S tier. Definitely a lot of them are S tier. And I think generally speaking, it's, you know, this is why Raid is pretty much, I think as far as I know, the top earning ever game on mobile, probably. It's because the portal and stuff is so good. But it also, there's a few events in there that are really bad and exploitative or just out of date, which drags it down a little bit. Talk plenty about that. Next up, Demon Lord Clan Boss. Gonna put Demon Lord in the A tier. People really enjoy this. I think Demon Lord is quite easy, thanks to, you know, Deadwood Jedi, etc., who have come through and given you a bunch of strategies. And if you can read and just follow what they tell you to do, you can beat this very easily. But I think nonetheless, it's very fun to build those teams and the different types of teams. The only couple of issues with Demon Lord, once you've beaten it, you've beaten it. There haven't been any new difficulties. So like for me, I've had the same team forever now for Demon Lord, and why ever change it? It works. And then the second issue is it takes a long time. I think people, when they give out about Hydra, which we'll talk about next, and Hydra's time, the time commitment of Hydra, I think people are so used to the time commitment of Demon Lord that they forget about it. But like, it's at least an hour of my day, roughly speaking. Like, it takes a full 20 minutes or something to run my unkillable team through Ultra Nightmare, 20 minutes doing that, and then another, whatever, 10 minutes for Nightmare, maybe 5 minutes for Brutal. It's just time where your phone or your game is just running there, and there's no interaction at all, which is just quite annoying because it's something you do every day. So that actually does annoy me quite a bit. Like, once you get unkillable teams, the time commitment is fairly big. Like, if you're someone that 2 keys Ultra Nightmare, say goodbye to an hour of your day is going to be spent just running Demon Lord, 2 full Ultra Nightmare runs, unkillable, 50 turns. Yeah, kind of a pain in the ass, so that's bad. The rewards are really good, though. It's fun building the teams initially. Time commitment is bad. Hydra, I'm going to put Hydra in the B tier. I'm going to put Hydra in B. I obviously personally quite like Hydra, but it definitely has a bunch of flaws. So accessibility, much like Tag Arena, except worse, I would say, for accessibility. You kind of need 18 good champions for Hydra, and good champions for Hydra are hard to come by. The requirements are very tough. It's supposed to be endgame content, though, so I think people hate on it a bit too much because it's really difficult and people don't like failing. The things that I don't like about it, I think there's definitely a chunk of randomness to it for sure. Which heads respawn. Certain abilities can sometimes overlap in ways that you really can't control. That can really screw up your run and you have to reset and go again. So that definitely sucks. I think more so for higher difficulties, it's worse. I think that normal and hard are actually pretty good now. I actually think that normal is quite doable. And then I think hard is a good level of challenge without being too challenging. I think normal hard Hydra are super fun. I think that Brutal has terrible rewards for the time invested. And Nightmare, while it is a really big challenge, you need quite specific champions, really. And it's because it's so difficult still, Nightmare, you're very much at the mercy of RNG. You might have to reset your runs, and your runs are probably going to be half an hour to even an hour long. They're very long runs, and if you have to reset it, and you're going to be playing on manual for that as well, that's what I don't like about Hydra. I think the time commitment is very high. But I do think that normal and hard are in a pretty good spot. I just think that Brutal and Nightmare definitely, they're very difficult, very long runs, manual fights pretty much. So that's a bit of a bummer. Next up we got Great Hall, sticking that straight into the C tier. Oh, another thing I like about Hydra I didn't mention is that tons of champions you wouldn't otherwise use do get used, and that's fun. Great Hall, C tier though. It's a fine, look, you sort of make some slow, steady progress with your account, slowly building up your Great Hall. I enjoy that aspect of it. The things I don't enjoy, though, it's slow progress. It's just some flat stat boosts, so it's not super interesting. And once you finish your Great Hall, there's going to be nothing to do with it either. I don't know. I feel like there's lots of room to improve the Great Hall. I think it ought to be pretty much just a B tier thing. Like, it's cool that it's there, but it's not doing anything too exciting. I think like the Guardian Ring, the Faction Guardians, is much more interesting. It's the same thing really as the Great Hall, but it's a more fun and interactive way of doing it. The Great Hall is pretty underwhelming for me. Next up, we've got events. Events are definitely going to go in the C tier for me. Events are not very interesting at all. It's just stuff to do for some rewards. It's good that they're there, but there's nothing too exciting. Events are pretty poor. Tournaments, likewise, are pretty poor. I'm going to put tournaments higher than the events, though. Definitely noticeably. They're both in C tier, but I do consider there to be a good improvement between tournaments and events. Because at least with tournaments, you sometimes have interesting stuff, like the crazy champion training tournaments. Whether or not you participate in them, at least it's a bit of drama, it's a bit of fun, it's a bit of a talking point. And I do like the sort of faction-specific tournaments as well. They add a bit of spice to the mix, so that's kind of cool. So at least there are some interesting tournaments, but I think both of these, just in general, are quite bland and could do with a lot more innovation. They're pretty simple and not super interesting. Clan v Clan, I'm going to offend people. I'm going to put Clan v Clan in the B tier. I actually think it's okay. I think it's fine. Definitely a bunch of stuff that could be improved. I'm putting it, for me personally, I put it in the A tier for me. I actually enjoy Clan v Clan, but I think as an objective, to be a fair critic here, I would have to put it in B tier. You have to. It can be a bit of a whale off for sure. In fact, it definitely is a bit of a whale off for sure. But at the same time, by just even completely free to play, by playing intelligently, saving your resources and working together well, you could easily have a clan in tier 6 CVC, like no question. It's super doable, but just people lack the will, I think, to do that. But it's certainly doable, and I think it can be quite fun. The things I like about CVC I really like live streaming it. So, you know, Nub Raid's streams of CBC are S tier. There's no question. If you guys have not seen my streams for CBC, come hang out. I'm going to be doing them on Twitch. I'm probably going to publish this video. I'm going to publish this video early in the week for members of the channel. And I think it's going to be scheduled sometime later in the week, maybe the weekend, for just general release. So you probably will have missed the CVC stream this week, but make sure to follow my Twitch channel so you'll be there for the next one. It's a ton of fun. We hang out, get to talk about the game. Things I like about it, I like the community aspect of my stream. I like the community aspect of talking with the clan, organizing some strategies with the clan. It's one of the times in the month or every couple of weeks where we talk to each other the most, so that's always good. Again, sort of similar to summoning events, I do find it fun to like save up resources and then go kind of crazy forging stuff, booking champions. It's quite exciting when that stuff happens. It's actually cool. I think there's really good rewards for CBC as well. And yeah, I think there's definitely obviously a ton of room for improvement. Yeah, it might be more interactive gameplay, might be good instead of just spamming Spider or whatever. So there's always that, but I actually decently like it. I think it's fair. Along with Tag and Hydra, it's unpopular content which has a lot of very obvious flaws, but which I actually quite enjoy. Next up, we got the missions. I'm actually going to put the missions in the A tier. I think the missions are actually, I don't know, A tier, B tier? A tier, B. I think maybe the B tier is a fair place to put them. They're not the most exciting things, but hey, at least they guide you through the game. It's something to keep working towards, so that's cool. And the rewards are nice. The missions are actually, it's a solid average piece of content. Nothing too exciting, but nothing too offensive either in the missions. There's a couple of missions that really suck for sure. And then there's some rewards that are really good. I feel like it sort of balances it out and leaves it as very average content. Quests again, I think are B tier, very average. Really nothing exciting there. They're maybe a bit dated. You know, just some daily tasks to do for some rewards. Like, it's fine to do, you know, doing my daily tasks, it's all right. And clicking off those red dots, it's okay. But definitely it's not high tier content at all. The Forge Pass, I'm also going to put the Forge Pass in the B tier, which is, again, I think going to offend people. People really don't like it. I think the Forge Pass is fine, though. I think it's fine. I think for the money that you spend compared to stuff they usually sell, so gear sets and stuff they usually sell in the shop, I think it's actually quite a good deal for that. Like, for the money you spend compared to buying gear sets, it's actually really good. I think for an early game player, it gives you a ton of great equipment and stuff to help you out if you're early game. But at the same time, I think an early game player is probably not going to be able to appreciate, you know, what that equipment might do for you. It's not very obvious, right? It's kind of a weird marketing thing, you know? As a newer player, the Forge Pass just doesn't seem that exciting. But it's actually, I think, quite helpful to you. So it's kind of in that weird spot. A couple of things I don't like about the Forge Pass. I like the idea of a Forge Pass, of like a Forge-focused thing. I love the Forge, so that's cool. The missions and stuff, though, are just tedious. They're just like quests. They're sort of tedious time wasters, basically, that have nothing to do with the Forge, so that's kind of a bummer. Yeah, I mean, if it was more like do Forge-related stuff to get Forge rewards, it could be more interesting. There's a lot of ways to improve it, but it's an okay deal. I think it's a fun thing to have in the game. I think this, like, if they improve the Forge, if they made the Forge Pass actually good, it could jump up to like A or even S tier. I'd lock it out of the S tier because it's pretty much paid content. Let's be real. Yeah, maybe I should rate it lower because it's paid content. I'll leave it in the B tier for now. I think it could be A tier content if they improved it. But yeah, and then finally you've got the Tavern. I'm going to put the Tavern in C. They've improved the Tavern a lot recently. Like, they really streamlined a lot of the UI stuff, and that's really good. I still feel like it's a bit tedious scrolling through and clicking all the stuff. Is much better than it was, but it's still a bit tedious. And I certainly think clearing out like your 1-star, your 2-star stuff definitely takes way too much time. It'd be great if there was like just an auto level stuff for like 1 and 2-star champions and that sort of thing, just to streamline that stuff a bit. It's a bit of a time waster, is the Tavern. It's okay. It's improved though. It has improved. I definitely wouldn't put it at the bottom here. I'd probably put the Tavern like, I'd probably arrange them something like, I mean, maybe something like that, to be fair. Yeah, that looks maybe about right. But yeah, guys, look, there you go. That's it. That is my ranking for this stuff. Let me know what you think. Again, the best stuff, in my opinion, I think the Forge, Faction Wars, Doom Tower, I think they are the best parts of the game for sure. And then Obviously, all the summoning events and all the rest are really good too, generally speaking. And then some of the worst stuff in the game is sort of like the old boring content. It's just kind of busy work, and there's not too much interesting that's happening with it at all. There you go. Let me know what you think. I'm sure we're going to get a huge variety of responses. I'll see you all next time, guys. Bye-bye.